So today we got a special guest in the house, a man that has deep roots in this hip hop game, put in some work and completely changed his life. Former Terror Squad member. I want to welcome the one and the only Charlie Rock LD. What's good with you, C-Rock? How you living, man?
Panda, what's going on, my man? You already know. It be the OG C-Rock LD. We in the yard, repping the real.
First of all, I want to commend you on all the amazing work that you're doing in the community with prison mentality and just trying to inspire others to turn their lives around. You know, what you've been able to do is a great thing. You're really inspiring other people.
I appreciate that, man. I definitely reinvented myself. You know, I'm not living that lifestyle no more. Unless you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard about the OG Charlie Rock LD, you know, I'm doing a lot of positive things in the community, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. So since this is our first interview, I want to start at the beginning and get like your origin. So where did you grow up?
In the South X? What do you mean where I grew up? In the South X? The South Bronx. The part of the Bronx that gave the Bronx his name and his reputation. The South Bronx.
And you're Puerto Rican, right?
All day.
And did you grow up with both your parents?
What the hell that got to do with a fucking interview? What are you moving at this? I feel like I'm at the fucking precinct, Panda. What's going on with you, man?
I'm just trying to help people see your story, man.
I was raised with my mother.
And what was your relationship like with your mom growing up?
I was a mama's boy. To the day she passed away, I was a mama's boy. I never disrespected my mother. You know, Puerto Ricans are known for always respecting their mothers. Like, you know, my mother passed away while I was inside. And the last time my mother smacked me was in the Auburn visit.
Damn.
Yeah, she gave it to me. I don't know. I dumbed out and I told her to shut up. I forgot who I was talking to. My mother was 4'11". Check this out. My mother was 4'11" and she ruled with an iron fist. She didn't play that shit. My mom did not play that shit. She was crazy strict. She thought I'll be going to school and I'm actually running up the strip and I'm running the whole drug strip. I used to go home. I used to hide my guns, my money, and my vest on the roof and then come into the house because we was in the projects. And she would always pat me down before I come in the house. Because she found a burner one time and she got shook. So she would always pat me down before I come in the house.
Damn, that's crazy. Were you only child?
No. I got 3 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm the youngest.
Damn. And so you grew up in the 80s. So what was the Bronx like during that time?
The Bronx was lit. The 80s was the most dangerous, the most murderous, the most money-getting decade in New York City. For those that don't know, I have my own podcast called Reppin' the Real, Charlie Rock LD Reppin' the Real, and I have all types of crazy episodes on there. I actually have one episode about trapping in the 80s. So for those that would like to hear a story about the 80s, check that episode out on Charlie Rock LD Reppin' the Real.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to have a link to the YouTube in the description.
But the 80s, Panda, the 80s was crazy. The 80s was the invention of hip-hop, the birth of rap. That's the crack era. That's when dudes was making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a day on $10 bags of dope. You know, and of course with that came the violence, the murder, the mayhem, and you know, and those were teenagers. Many legends came out the Bronx, New York City for that matter, that, you know, dudes was 18, 19, official millionaire status. The money was crazy in the 80s, man.
And so from your earliest memories, it was always like that. You don't remember it being calm before then?
I mean, as you country guys like to say, I came off the porch in the early 80s. Those were my teenage years, you know? Again, I have another episode where I talk about my life story. It's called From Gangster to Prison to Pillar in the Community. But just so we can talk about it again, you know, At 12 years old, that's when I got my first burner, my first gun. At 13, back then there were stick-up kids, and they would run around and stick you up for your sheepskins and bombers. So your boy was a stick-up kid at 13. At 15, I graduated to the bodegas in the supermarket, and we would rob them in broad daylight. At 16, we was, in the drug game. That's why they call your boy a legend. Your boy Charlie Rock LD is considered a legend in the Bronx because of all the extracurricular activities. My name was known crazy throughout the whole Bronx before I even went to prison.
You were right there when hip hop started. What is your earliest hip hop memory?
What? Let's go there. Let's go there. I wasn't aware that I was actually being part of history, man. I had no idea that here we are 30, 40 years later, and what these guys was doing in the park for free was going to turn into a 100 billion dollar industry a year. My first experience would be guys used to bring their DJ equipment out to the park, and we would call it the jam. So everybody would go to the park, like the regular public park. The park I used to go to was St. Mary's Park. It was on 149th Street on St. Anne's. It was called St. Anne's Park. And every weekend, the guys would bring their DJ equipment, the speakers, carrying the milk crate with records. Then we'll have the other crews that will come to battle, the B-boys, and they will break dance. Another element I experienced was the graffiti. These are all elements of hip-hop. I believe there's 5 elements of hip-hop. And your boy experienced all of them, man. It was a great experience. I'm actually able to say that I was a witness to the birth of hip-hop. Yeah, man. Your boy was there.
And did you fall in love with it, like, instantly from what you saw?
I enjoyed the music. I did, but I guess I enjoyed more the aura that came with it. That's where the girls was at. So if you was into the girls, you had to go to the jam. You know what I mean? So, and it was what it was. At that time also was when freestyle was banging, the freestyle music. So I would say it was 50-50. You was either into hip hop or you was into the freestyle music. And when I say freestyle, I mean groups like Coro, TKA, and those types of, that type of freestyle. It fizzled out. The freestyle fizzled out. And that's the same thing that they was thinking about the rap music. Yeah. They thought that rap was just a fad. And in a couple of years, no, we wasn't going to hear about it. A lot of people believed, even in the industry, that the rap music was going to fizzle out just like the freestyle music did. And here we are 30, 40 years later, and we banging.
Right. Did you start out breakdancing, DJing, or just grabbing the mic?
Nah, I was more of a stick-up. I was more of a B-boy. Back then they called the thug, the gangster. In every era, we name them a different name. Back then it was the B-boy. I was definitely a B-boy. You had the breakers. If you were a breaker, that means you was into pop locking and break dancing and and that type of stuff. I thought I was way too cool to be break dancing. You know what I mean? I was a dude standing up by the wall with a sawed-off shotgun inside my sheepskin.
From your memories of hip hop at that time, what ethnicities were you seeing around? Was there a lot of Puerto Ricans involved in hip hop at that time?
Hells yeah. Let's get that right. First of all, I'm glad you touched on that, yo. Let's jump into that subject. Because I've been hearing a lot of talk lately that the Puerto Ricans had nothing to do with the beginning of hip hop. You're wrong. Dead wrong. You're talking to a guy right now that was a damn witness. I didn't hear this from my parents. I didn't watch it in a video. It ain't hearsay. I was there, my man. So was the other billion other Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans was neck and neck with the blacks. At that time, there was really no whites. So it was just in the South Bronx, it was straight up blacks and Puerto Ricans. And they like to say Latin. All due respect to the Latins, to our Mexican, Dominicans, and all that. But again, we're talking about the 80s. And, it was straight Puerto Ricans. I'm sure you had a little Dominican here and there, but 95% of the Latins were straight Puerto Ricans. I mean, we had Puerto Rican MCs, that's what we used to call them back then. We didn't call them rappers. The breakdancing crew was Puerto Rican, the Rocksteady crew, Crazy Legs. You know, the graffiti guys, Reverend, D5, all Puerto Rican. I don't know how these guys have the balls to say that the Puerto Ricans had nothing to do with hip hop. You wildin'. You're wildin' right now.
It started in the South Bronx, and then like you started to witness it spread all over New York.
Yes, it started in the South Bronx. I mean, the first group that I could remember, there was probably earlier, but as far as my memory goes back, was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and it was the South Bronx. Again, they would bring the DJ equipment out to the parks. They would run the crazy long extension cord to the light poles, and that's how they used to get the electricity for the DJ equipment.
That's crazy.
They would steal the electricity from the light poles, and no permit, no nothing. The cops ain't say nothing. You set up your equipment, you start jamming, and word of mouth, people heard the music, and they would come from all over. Again, this is what the teenagers was into. You know, nowadays the teenagers are into video games and all that. Back then, we was into the jam. That's what we call. We didn't even call it hip hop or rap. We called it the jam.
How long would you say it took before it spread to the other boroughs of New York?
Not long, but it definitely originated in the Bronx. I mean, even in the Hall of Fame for rap, they at least gave us that much. They gave us that much respect. When you talking about the history of hip hop or rap, they specifically say it was in the South Bronx. They're correct with that. And they also have to be correct that the Puerto Ricans was running 50-50 with the blacks. As far as MCing, graffiti, I used to go with your boy Fat Joe to the train yards because he used to tag crack, but we're going to get into that later.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because he got some flack for that recently, not too long ago, actually.
I heard. I don't know. I don't believe it, Panda. I just don't believe it. They're straight up trying to rewrite history. How can you cut us out of history, my man? You're wildin'. You're wildin'. You know, they're really trying to act like they're the American. You know, American schools are real good for cutting out history. You know what I mean? I'm a big history buff. For those that don't know, the Greeks did not call themselves the Greeks. The ancient Greeks, they did not call themselves the Greeks. The American government started calling them the Greeks, and we only know what we know, and that's what they teach us in the school. I also have another episode on history not taught in public American schools. I got the crazy episodes. Charlie Rock LD repping the real. Y'all gotta peep my podcast is off the meters.
You said at 12 is when you got your first burner, right?
Yeah.
What made you decide to step into the street life at that time?
Well, to be honest with you, Panda, at that time, that's what it was, man. That's what I seen in my environment. That's what the kids was doing. At that era, everybody was a stick-up kid. Well, of course, not everybody, but if you wanted to be with the it crowd, you know, what they would call today the thugs, the gangsters, back then it was the B-boys. And, you know, everybody wanted to be a tough guy. And if you was a tough guy, you had to carry a gun. And, you know, and if you carried a gun, you was robbing people. And what we used to rob a lot was the sheepskins and the bombers. And I want to state something before we go any further. Your boy C-Rock would always follow the G code. At 13 years old, I would never rob no females or no people old enough to be our parents. I would argue with my sticker partners in the middle of the robbery because they want to rob the girls and take their jewelry, and we're arguing. No. We're not robbing the girls, and we're arguing in the middle of the robbery. I refuse to stick up any girls, any women. We would target guys our age, you know, teenage guys. So we'll catch them at the bus stop. It'll be like 4 or 5 of them. Back out the burner on them and run your shit. You know, it was as simple as that.
You know what's so crazy is that, like, nowadays it seems like there is no code whatsoever, right?
No, there is no code. There is no code. Again, for those that don't know, your boy Charlie Rock, at 18 years old, I stood in front of a judge and took a 20 clip. I took a 10 or 20 to the chest at 18 years old when I could have easily got 5 or 6 years if I would have testified. But testifying and being a rat back then, it wasn't even an option. No way, my man. You got knocked, you got to hold that down. I'm not saying that dudes ain't rat. I'm sure there was some dudes that ratted. But the norm was, my man, if your ass got knocked, you got to hold that down.
What age did you meet Fat Joe?
I met Joe. We was in high school. Before high school, let me tell you the story. We used to hang out in Forest Projects. A lot of people hear Fat Joe rap about Forest Projects. That was right across the street from Morris High School. So I met Joe in high school, our first year of high school. We actually started with a beef. We was going to fight. He had no idea who I was. And, he started talking shit. And when I was ready to get at him, the people was like, no, Charlie, he's cool. He just don't know any better, And we squashed it and we became the best of friends. But those that don't know, Joe released I'm Charlie Rock LD, Terror Squad. People know who the hell I be. Fat Joe has shouted me out on all his albums. Big Pun shouted me out on Capital Punishment. And your boy is the truth, man. Fat Joe also wrote in his book of Jose, which dropped last month. And he talks all about Charlie Rock. He calls me C. But everybody know who the hell C is. And he has 100 stories on how I was the one that showed him the street life. And I gave him his first burner. How I taught him the ropes. He was my son. I had him under the wing. I would never get him in trouble. Once I showed him how to rob people. From there, we went into the drug game. And, and he used to be my little runner. I took care of Joe, man. Joe can't say no negative shit about Charlie Rock, man. Again, in his book, he has a story where there was 100 guys in front of his building. And he called me. And Charlie popped up 20 minutes later looking like the Terminator, aired shit out. Again, Book of Jose, this is what your boy is saying about Charlie Rock. What you young boys like to call receipts. Your boy got plenty receipts, yo.
So would you say you were like 15, 16 when you guys first met in school?
Yeah, about that age, yeah.
And was Joe rapping at this time already?
Oh, no. Not at all.
Were you rapping?
No, none of us. I was rapping, yeah, Bodies and Rugs.
You and Joe, you guys are out running the streets at this time, and you guys had a reputation. Were you guys on the same thing, or were you guys doing different things? I know you said that you were a stick-up kid at the time. Was he on that as well?
Joe was never about that life. Joe was my little brother. I would shield him away from, he even says again in the Book of Jose, Fat Joe goes on to mention that him and Tony Montana, who Tone became a G in his own right, who got murdered and got shot 8 times in the chest. Again, in his book, Joe says that while him and Tone was running around beating people up and on that type of level, Charlie Rock was already into the gunplay. I was doing heists. I was sticking up McDonald's and supermarkets. I mean, this is what he's saying in his book, word for word. And it's the truth. Joe was not putting in that work. Once I got arrested, him and Tone stepped up and they made some money. But as far as like that, being a gangster and putting in work, Joe was never known for that. You know what I mean? He'll beat somebody up or whatever, but there's different levels of putting in work. You know what I mean? And, those that know, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
So you went to prison like at 18 years old, right?
Yep.
Okay. What led up to that situation?
Well, I got arrested at the time for a double murder. Now, what happened was I used to have the strip. A strip is like 5-6 blocks. And at 17, 18, that was my strip. So we was making a lot of money every day. And with a lot of money comes a lot of violence. Dudes would try to either extort you or the feds and the cops was the least of your problems when you're making that type of money. You got guys trying to put work on your block and you can't have that. If you allow a dude to sell, you know, I'm not capping. We was making $50,000, $60,000 a day, Panda. So when you're talking about that type of money, dudes is coming out the woodworks. Again, you got to worry about the extortionists. You got to worry about the stick-up kids. You got to worry about dudes trying to muscle in on your block and put in their work. You got to worry dudes kidnapping you. Dudes used to kidnap your moms. The Bronx was crazy. I know in the 90s and 2000s, the young boys like to say they putting in that work. But in the 80s, if dudes know you're the owner of a strip and you're making 50, 60,000 a day and you've been there for 6 months, do the math. What would dudes do? They would kidnap your moms or your wife or your sister or your kid and get on some ransom shit. Either you're going to give me 300,000 or I'm going to send mom back pieces by pieces. That's how dudes was giving it up. So again, in my situation, dudes was trying to put work on the block. I couldn't have that. So there was an altercation. Dudes came on the block to light my ass up. You know what I mean? Like, I would say there was quite a few attempts on my life. And, I wasn't having it. You know what I mean? I was banging back. So it just so happened this day, a bunch of dudes ran up on my block. That day I had the better aim. And, 2 of them fell. So I got arrested for a double manslaughter. A double murder. They finally broke it down to a double manslaughter, and I copped out to the 10 to 20.
And so was your mom aware of what you were doing at this time, of the life?
No. My mother thought I was working in a supermarket, and I got the strip on smash. My dude thought I was working in the supermarket, Panda. And she ain't know I had the fucking strip on smash. She would come upstairs telling me the stories about, the guys on the block and this, and I'll be laughing like she don't know that was me. It was crazy, man.
So what year did you go in?
I went in November 25th of 88. When you get arrested, that's like a birthday, man. You don't forget. You know what I mean? It was a Friday, November 25th, like around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They snatched my ass up.
And then what year did you get out?
2002. So we're talking about from 1988, and I came home in March or April of 2002.
2002 or 2022?
No, 2002, yeah.
Oh, 2002, okay. Yeah, because in the book of Jose, he makes it seem like he has this reputation for going on other people's blocks and like taking their corners, and OGs were looking at him like he was a problem.
We must be talking about a different Fat Joe. Oh, shit. Joe's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I guess he feels he's a superstar, a household name, and he could just say whatever the fuck he wants. You know what I mean? And he forgets that there's people that know him and me from back then, and know the truth. And that's not the truth, my man. You know what I mean? No way.
Because he tells a story of someone wanted to kill him like 8 times in one day, like wanted to fight him.
I heard that story. He also said he had beef with some dude named Boy George. Let me tell you a little science on Boy George. The dude Boy George was the first, well, not the first, but one of the most known drug kingpins in the Bronx. This guy was 18 years old, multi-millionaire status. The dude was so lethal that he got locked up in 1988. What year are we in today, Panda?
2023.
And the boy is still locked up.
Damn.
Since 1988. I believe they gave him a triple life bid. Again, Boy George was a kingpin. He himself wasn't putting in the work, but when you got that type of money, you got murderers on your payroll. So nobody would mess with George. Like, it's crazy for Fat Joe to say he had beef with George. Like, I couldn't believe it. I had to air him out. Again, y'all gotta subscribe to my page, Charlie Rock LD. You'll see all type of stories, all types of videos of me telling the truth. I even have an episode that I named it Know the Real Fat Joe and Terror Squad, and I go into all these stories. You know what I mean? But yeah, Joe be capping. He said one time he had beef with dudes that had 8 heads. I don't know what the hell that means. You know what I mean? But yeah, dudes that kill babies. He said he had beef with another dude named Calderon. Calderon was the crazy, crazy extortionist. The only one that was extorting Boy George. And I just finished telling you about Boy George. You know what I mean? And Joe had the balls to say he had beef with Calderon. Like, you wildin'. How you gonna say some shit like that? Again, I guess he's rich and famous, and he forgets that there's people from back then that know the truth, my man.
Did you read the whole book of Jose?
I read pretty much the parts where he's talking about me. Again, he says all types of stories about me, how I saved his life, and how I stole a car from the biggest drug dealer in the Bronx and took him joyriding, and I didn't tell him it was a dude's car. You know what I mean? He has all types of crazy stories on Charlie Rock LD. Your boy is the truth.
How accurate is the book from what you read?
Again, I didn't read the whole book. First of all, I didn't even read the book. What happened was people was taking pictures of the book where he was talking about me, and they were sending them to me. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I read the book without. I didn't read the fucking book. I'm not giving that nigga my $50. Fuck out of here.
And so when you got locked up, right? What was Fat Joe starting to experience any success at this time, or he was just like getting his hands into music, or what was he doing at the time?
Okay, now when I got locked up, of course I left a crazy vacancy. There was crazy money on the block. So Joe and Tom Montana came to see me on Rikers Island, and they asked me for permission, which was the right thing to do, to continue to run the block. And they was going to give me a piece of what they made. You know what I mean? So I agreed to it. But it wasn't Joe. It was Tom Montana that stepped up as far as the gunplay. 8, 9 months after I got arrested, Tom Montana came through with his bodies. Because dudes was putting in that work. You know what I mean? So Tone laid up with me. He came to the island. He did like about a year and a half. He went to trial and he beat the body. He was charged with a murder. He beat it. He went home, and about 18 months later, he got murdered. They shot him 8 times in the chest. Joe raps about it in his first album, Represent.
At this time, Joe is that where he gets his name Crack from?
No. Joe got his name Crack before the crack came out. They used to call him Crack because when he was so fat, when he would sit down, they'll see the crack of his ass. That's why he got the name Joey Crack. Don't let him blow smoke up your ass. He's admitted it in his interviews. He's admitted it in a few interviews. We was calling him Joe Crack before the crack era, before the crack even came out. But the reason we call him Joe Crack was because of that, not because he was a kingpin or selling mad crack. No, he would sit down and then we'd always show the crack of his ass. Ah, rock with your boy. We in the yard. Again, your boy Charlie Rock LD got the podcast, Reppin' the Real. The podcast is banging. I got the crazy stories, talking all types. I have prison stories, OG stories. Your boy held down Tupac in prison when he was in Clinton. I got that story. Anybody listening to this and want to listen to my podcast, go right over to my page, Charlie Rock LD, Reppin' the Real. I'm killing them right now. Your boy's the hottest thing on the block right now. I want to talk about Prison Mentality. Prison Mentality is a life coaching company that I opened up. For those that don't know, I'm also a life coach. I no longer live that lifestyle. I'm definitely on some positive shit today. You know, I went from gangster to prison to a pillar in the community. Your boy is definitely on some other shit. You know, I don't allow no negativity around me. I don't drink. I don't smoke. You know what I mean? But I stay lit every day. Figure it out. Again, Prison Mentality is a life coaching company for the formerly incarcerated and their family. I'm doing a lot of great things, man. Anybody that will want to reach out to me as a life coach, you can find me at Charlie Rock LD, Prison Mentality, gmail.com. Holla at your boy. And the podcast, Repping the Real. The hottest shit out right now. The epic stories. That's what we talking about. If y'all want to hear more of the Fat Joe stories, Google your boy, Charlie Rock LD. We in the yard. You already know.
And that's definitely commendable, man, for what you've been able to do, you know, turn things around and really.
I'm a youth. Let me keep on. I'm a youth mentor. I work with the youth. You know what I mean? Sometimes I go to the soup kitchen. I'm definitely not the same person, man. Your boy is not. I know I have the title of an OG and a BX legend. And I do from time to time speak about my war stories and how I got them. However, I want you to understand, it's not that I'm glorifying them. I'm enlightening you with the fact that as somebody as crazy as I was and all the extracurricular activities I've been known for doing, and my man, if I can change my life around, so can you. You know, again, I don't glorify or, sanction that type of lifestyle. I just want y'all to know that that's what I used to do. This is what people know me as. And I changed my life around, man. And today is all about positive energy, man.
Yeah, and definitely if you can do it, then other people can do it as well.
Of course, of course. People that have issues with substance abuse, I also fell through that. I was a victim of substance abuse. I rocked with that for a while, you know. I'm not ashamed to say what I did. Panda, in life, we all have different chapters. You feel me? And Charlie Rock is no different than anybody else. I had different chapters in life. You know, there was a time when I was a stick up kid, a drug dealer, some say murderer, prison life, in the music industry, running with Joe, and everybody has different chapters. Today, the chapter in my life is a totally different chapter. I enjoy helping people out. I love the person I am today. And, it is what it is, man. So I got the podcast and I got the Prison Mentality Coaching Company. And I work with the kids. I'm trying, man. And I really love the person I am today. In case you're wondering, I am more happy today and more content and more peace of mind than I was when I was banging with Joe and living that celebrity life and all that other wild shit. I'm a happier person today. It is what it is.
It also seems like you know yourself more than ever, right?
Oh, hells yeah. I have crazy enlightenment. Definitely. I'm a history buff. I like to study ancient. I have a video out on my birthday that just passed January 11th, and I'm in the damn museum. I'm recording in the museum, and I'm talking in the video how many years ago I would have been in a club with the females and drinking and smoking, and here I am spending my birthday at the museum. You're talking to a different Charlie Rock today, man. It is what it is. The Butelo, you already know. Those are my podcasts. Always see me with the Butelo. I'm banging the Butelo.
And do you think that it was worth it to stand on those principles of not taking the 5 to 6 years instead?
I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Of course, there's always a coulda, woulda, shoulda. But, I take that as a badge of honor. I'm a stand-up dude. I don't have millions. I'm not rich and famous like him. But I can walk anywhere on this fucking green earth with my chest out. You know what I mean? Knowing that I stand on morals and principles. And in my book, Morals and Principles, you can't buy that type of shit, man. You either got it or you don't. And there's only one way to get it. You got to earn it. You can't buy it. I don't care how many M's you got. You're not going to buy morals and principles. You might act like it, but you're not going to buy it, my man. No way.
Did you ever have a relationship with Nori?
Ah, the Nori. Here we go with the Nori. Nori was all right. I mean, I was locked up with his man Capone. I mean, when I came home, I met Nori. You know what I mean? He used to be cool with Joe, and from what I hear, he used to be cool with Pun. And as far as his boy Capone, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna kick dirt on the homie, but you know, he was having it really rough on the inside, man.
So you want to go into that or no?
I mean, basically that, you know, he was having it rough, you know. Dudes was, dudes was pushing up on him. That was the word.
And were you really tight with Capone or just kind of knew?
Nah, we was just in the same jail.
Gotcha.
I mean, I knew that was Nori's man. So, you know, I stepped to him and saluted him. Yo, I be Charlie Rock LD, whatever. He be Capone. So, you know, but it's not like he was my homie and we'll hang and all that, whatever. You know what I mean? Nah.
Yeah, and you're speaking facts because like there's a lot of people that do have millions in the bank and they're not happy.
I actually did another story. I'm telling you, I'm killing them with the podcast. Last week I did an episode called The Pros and Cons of Being Rich and Famous. And I'm actually talking about what you just finished talking about, Panda. I'm talking about personal conversations that I had with people like Puffy, with people like Birdman. And they actually told me that even though they was rich and famous, they was not happy. And I went into the pros and cons of being rich and famous. And believe me when I tell you, happiness does not bring you, money does not bring you happiness, my people. Let me say that again. Money does not, of course, there's an advantage to having millions. You live a great lifestyle, but it doesn't necessarily bring happiness. You could be living in the projects, in the trailer park, and be totally happy, as opposed to somebody having $20 million and their ass is miserable. You know what I mean? It happens like that, man. Again, the podcast, Charlie Rock LD, repping the real. These are the things I talk about. Rock with your boy, we in the yard.
I always say that money is everything until you get it.
I agree. And whoever says that when they get money, they're not going to change, and we're talking about real money. We're talking about millions of dollars. Whoever says I'll get millions of dollars and I'll still be the same person, my man, you're lying. The only reason you're saying that because you never had it. You know, money changes people, my man. Again, we can never say everybody, but the majority of the people, they get a few M's on their bank account and they're not the same people. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying it's bad. You should always look forward to prosperous and always do better in life, sure. All I'm saying is don't let money be your sole purpose of living. When I wake up in the morning, I think about what I'm going to talk in my podcast. I'm happy. I'm in a good mood. You know what I mean? You know, there's people that be like, and let me tell you another thing about rich people. You know what's a rich people's worst nightmare? Their worst fear is not dying. They don't give a fuck if they die. Their worst fear is going broke. Their worst fear is going broke. Fat Joe used to tell me that all the time on the visit. Charlie, I done made $1 million. The easy part is making the $1 million. The hard part is staying with the $1 million. It's crazy, but it is what it is, man.
That's why rich people are more cheap than like poor people, right?
I agree. I know from experience. It seems like the more money you got, the cheaper you get. It's crazy. I'll give you a quick example. Joe used to run the Rucker games, the basketball game Rucker games, and he had Stephon Marbury playing for him. And Stephon Marbury had mad millions. Way more millions than Joe. And he was still making his business that Joe would fly him down first class, put him up in the best hotel, and buy him dinner and buy him all types of shit. And he refused to spend his money. You know, that's just one example how the more money you got, the macheta you get, nigga. That's crazy.
So Did he hold you down when you were locked up? He put money on your books. He take care of you.
He would sporadically. You know what I mean? He's capping saying that he took care of me for 16 years. He did not take care of me for 6 years. You know what I mean? In a year, he'll probably send me $100 or $200, which I appreciate it. But he makes it seem like, you know, he put money on my books every week. And he said he bought me a Hummer when I came home. And he got me an apartment. Straight lying. The boy's lying to the pop dog.
Wait, so even at this time, he's already experiencing success though, right?
Okay, let me take you back so you guys could understand. I get locked up in 88, right? So I had, I think, like about maybe 4, close to 5 years in, when Fat Joe comes to see me telling me he's going to be a rapper. So I'm like, a rapper? What do you mean you're going to be a rapper? You wildin', you know what I mean? We don't fucking rap. So he explained it to me that he got together with some dudes called the Digging in the Crates. And again, before I go there, I was the man on the street. I got snatched up. Then Tone stepped up. Tone got snatched up. Then Joe came in with his brother, the money man, and they was getting paper. You know, so Joe did make some paper. I'm not saying he didn't make no paper. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is that he was not putting in the work. There's a difference between a gangster and a hustler. Joe was a hustler. I give him that. He made some money. You know what I mean? But he was not a gangster. No way, my man. Fuck out of here.
So even with him being a hustler and making all that money, he wasn't putting money on your books like that?
No, not at all. Let me tell you. Let me explain it to you. So he comes to see me. I had like maybe 4 or 5 years in, telling me he's going to be a rapper. So I'm like, all right, you know, if you're going to rap, whatever. So he started rapping. He met the right people, whatever, and all that. And he came out with Flojo. When Flojo came out, that was in what, 91, 92, somewhere around there. And your boy was already knee deep into the bid, man. So he came out with the album, and you know, and you guys know the rest. He started rapping from there. So as I'm locked up, he would mention me in his albums. You know, Charlie Rock this, Charlie Rock LD that. And I always thought it was out of love because he was my brother at the time and I showed him the ropes and you know what I mean? And all that and everything. I didn't notice until I came home that what he was doing was using me. And he was using me for street cred. You know how the rappers like to brag, oh, we got street cred, you know, we about that life and all this. So he knew he wasn't about that life. So he would shout his brother Charlie Rock LD, who was. So when I say he would use me for my reputation and for my street cred. And that's why he would shout me out. And I knew that because when I finally came home after all them years, the love wasn't there. You know, it was a totally different person. Like he just was on what he was on. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
So you get out in 2002, and what is the relationship like at that point? Did he pick you up and take you home from there, or like how did that work?
No, he didn't pick me up. He was out of town. I didn't see him like till a week when I came home, and you know he gave me $1,000. The nigga gave me $1,000. At this time, he was already worth a few $1 million, and he gave your boy $1,000. The fat bastard.
So no Hummer, he said, no Hummer. He didn't help you get set up.
No, I'm gonna tell you about the Hummer. The Hummer was what, 43,000, 44,000, some shit like that. What he gave me was $4,000. You know, out of the 44 grand, he gave me 4,000, and I put the rest up. But as far as him buying it, Joe ain't buying nobody cars. Joe's the type of dude that everybody in the crew, he'll buy him a chain and lease him a car. So on the outside looking in, Joe's taking care of his crew. You know, but he's not. He knows. We ain't even gonna go into that, man. I don't even want to talk about that. You know, anybody that want to hear the Charlie Rock, LD, Fat Joe, I've done a few interviews already. Y'all could Google Charlie Rock, and you know, it is what it is, you know?
So Did you know Pun and Cuban Link from around the way, since you guys are all from the Bronx?
No, these guys, first of all, we had the original Terror Squad members, and then we had the rappers. The originals was the one before the rapping. I got ahead of myself. You know, before the drug selling and the sticking up and all that, we would hang out at Forest Projects, and it was known as Godsville. And 70, close to 70% of the projects was black. So there was only a handful of Puerto Ricans. So we would stick together, and that was the name that we had for each other, the Little Terror Squad. You know, it was dudes like Gizmo, Crime, Kindu. You know, these are the originals. So many years later, Joe started rapping. He got the opportunity to get his own rap crew, and he named them the street name of the Terror Squad, which used to be our guys on the block. That's when Pun, Cuban, Remy, Khaled, Armageddon, you know, none of them are original. They all said we love Pun and them and all that. You know what I mean? Much respect and love to them. But they was not original. They stepped on the scene when Joe was already rapping. I believe Joe had 2 albums under his belt when Pun and them came in.
And so you didn't have any relationships with Cuban and Pun?
No, I knew them from the visit. Joe used to bring them up to the visit to see me. And what he used to do was he used to bring the rappers up to the visit and threaten them with me. Like, yo, if you ever flip on me, this is the nigga that's going to put a hot one in you.
That's crazy.
So he would keep him in line out of fear that my crazy brother that's locked up is going to come home. And if you do me dirty, he's the one that's going to get at you.
So in 2002, you're out now. What happens at that time? Are you getting put on by Joe? You starting to make music then? Like, what's happening at that time?
At 02, everything was good with Joe, whatever. I mean, he wasn't opening no doors. He wasn't, you know, Joe's about Joe, man. You know what I mean? So being that I'm a jail nigga, I stay in the yard. I started making my own moves. 2 months after I came home, 2 or 3 months, I opened up FJ Films, which was basically me recording all the behind the scenes stuff that Joe was doing. At this time, the DVDs was hot. The Smack DVDs was out, the Come Up. It was a popular thing. So I started recording and I named it FJ Films. And that's how I used to get my little money. I used to promote clubs, have him come through, perform, and he would charge me. Anyway, listen, you guys just don't know. So I would start promoting, you know, I'll get my own bread. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I'm saying I'm a little kid, give me your money. No, it wasn't like that. Whatever I got on my own. You know, so in 2004, I called a parole violation. So I go back in on a parole violation. And this is when the 50 Cent Fat Joe shit start jumping off. So there was tension between Terror Squad and G Unit. So I'm in the yard. For those that don't know, I'm going to tell the story again. You know, some shit popped off in the yard and dudes started talking shit about Joe because the 50 Cent drama, whatever. Your boy Charlie Rock got emotional. I pulled out the ice pick, banged one of them in the neck, and one of them stabbed me in the eye. And right now I'm blind in one eye. So I actually got stabbed in the eye over the 50 Cent Fat Joe beef. You know what I mean?
So that beef was just really that serious in the streets as well, from what you remember?
Nah. Nobody banged out. The only one that banged out with the Terror Squad G Unit was your boy Charlie Rock. Ain't nobody banged out. Nobody shot at each other. Nobody beat each other up. There was never no type of drama. You know, the only dude that banged out was your boy. That's it.
Because, you know, there's some rumors that like Pistol Pete ran up on some G Unit members and all that stuff. But from what you know, that didn't happen?
That's exactly what they are, my man, a rumor.
Gotcha.
That's the same dude that likes to call himself the king of Rikers Island. That dude's a hell of a character. He's definitely not a Charlie Rock LD. Definitely not a Charlie Rock LD.
After this happens, does Joe find out that you lost your eye from defending him or anything?
Yeah, pretty much. And he hits me with the yo, we can't be cool till you home for like about a year, whatever. And and that's when he hit me with that bullshit, and that's where we had the fallout. You know what I mean? I guess he basically thought I was gonna fall in line with everybody else, and I wasn't going for it. He thought because he was rich and famous that I was not gonna say fuck you and leave the crew. And that's exactly what I did. He did not kick Charlie Rock out. Charlie Rock left. There's a big difference, my man. There's not too many dudes that's gonna walk away from somebody that's, rich and famous like Joe. People thought I was crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just a motherfucker with morals and principles. And you're not gonna fucking treat me like a piece of shit, my man. No. I don't care how much money you got. I'm out.
So he was mad that you did that situation, that you defended him against other.
No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? He was saying that I was a loose cannon and that, I had to be home a year after I came home from the violation, even though he know I just lost a fucking eye. And he wanted to have me acting a certain, he basically wanted me to fall in line. And I'm like, fuck you, nigga. I am what I am. You take me how you take me. If not, I'm out. And that, and that's how it went down.
Why did he want you to fall in line like that, though? Like, he wanted you to.
Panda, we're not gonna go into that. Anybody want to hear the Fat Joe Charlie Rock stories? Google Charlie Rock. I did like about maybe 3, 4. Honestly, I just don't want to keep repeating the same story over and over like your homie. You know what I mean? I'm not going that route. I said what I said. There's like 3, 4 interviews. Google Charlie Rock LD and you'll see it. I'm not gonna do the same story, the same remix over and over. You know what I mean?
Okay, can we talk about the interview that you spoke about the music industry and how people sell their soul to get ahead?
Oh, we can go there. All right. Well, I mean, it's a known. Unless you've been living under a rock, there are people that rock with the dark side. If you believe in the light, then you also got to believe in the dark side. And there's plenty of rumors that a lot of artists sell their soul, whatever, for the riches and the fame. You know what I mean? Like, you guys could Google it. It's not like I'm saying shit that people don't know. There's rumors that Kanye, Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, everybody that done made it is banging out with the dark side. You know what I mean? And I think that's what your boy Joe did. He banged out with the dark side.
So when you say selling your soul, you mean from a figurative standpoint? Or do you believe in like all the rituals that happens behind the scenes? Like, what do you mean?
I mean, I believe that they have rituals. Yeah, you know what I mean? And this is something that's not only been going on now, it's been going for thousands of years. I mean, the proof is right there. You just have to know what you're looking at. We only know what we know. If you don't know, there are 2 types of people in the world, Panda. There are people that are awake and there are people that are asleep. If you're awake, then you're aware of what's going on in the world. If you're asleep, you're living in la la land. You're not aware of the reality. Your boy's a realist. A realist to me is a person that looks at life for what it is, not what you want it to be, not what you think it is. You're either awake or you're asleep. I have a lot of knowledge on many different topics, and some shit you just can't talk about.
Right.
But you're either awake or you asleep. I mean, the proof is there. You just gotta look for it,
And so you felt like Joe's newfound success came from doing that. He sold out, basically.
In my opinion, yeah. I mean, he doesn't have an album out, but he's more famous now than he's ever been. So there got to be a reason for that.
He's also more accepted than ever, like as a household name, right?
Yeah, he is a household name. On the business side, I respect him. I salute him because it has been over 30 years and he has been relevant in the game. It's very hard for any rapper, any artist to be banging in the game for 20, 30 years. That's longevity. Only a handful of artists have done that, and he's one of them. So on a business side, I salute him. On a personal side, you're a piece of shit. It is what it is.
Can we talk about the ghostwriting?
All right, we can go there.
Okay. So I've seen in other interviews or live streams you've done that you mentioned that Joe always had a ghostwriter. Did you ever write for Joe?
Yeah. For those that don't know, after I broke up with Joe, I attempted to open Underboss Records. Again, another chapter in my life. Your boy stay in the yard. When I say I stay in the yard, that means I'm always into something. I'm always trying to create. That's the type of person I am. I'm always active. When I say we in the yard, I don't mean we're in the yard in prison. No, I mean that we're active. We're about something. We're motivated. And I stay in the yard. So, yeah, there was a time, what was it, 08, 09? I attempted to open Underboss Records, and your boy started rapping. So if y'all want to hear Charlie Rock rap, I did a tribute to Pun. I did a couple of diss songs to Joe where I was getting at him, you know what I mean? Y'all could go on my YouTube page under playlist, and it says Charlie Rock LD songs or Underboss Records, or Google Charlie Rock. If you Google Charlie Rock LD, everything is going to pop up. You know what I mean? So in case your ass been living under a rock and you don't know who the OGC Rock LD be, Google the kid.
And so this is something that a lot of people debate about, right? You've been on record and you said that Armageddon used to write so much of Fat Joe's stuff, and Pun helped write the Don Cartagena album.
That's not a secret. I'm not saying nothing that nobody knows. I mean, the whole world knows that when Pun stepped on the scene, Joe's skills went from 3 to 15. You could tell the flow from his album, which was Joe, Jealous Wanzembe, to Don Cartagena when Pun stepped on the scene. His flow was crazy. And like I said, it's not a secret. It's not a secret society type thing. Pun was writing for Joe.
Yeah, and so I interviewed Cuban Link, and shout out to him for helping us link up. But he said that he would write for Joe sometime too, but he really didn't like it because he got the vibe that Joe didn't really like him. From the way that he described it, he said that it was like a group effort, like him and Pun, and I think Armageddon too. They would like help him with lines, and he would pick whatever he wanted. Do you remember like any instances of like Joe accepting like bars from other people or songs?
I mean, as far as Link, salute to Link. As far as Link and Pun and them, you got to remember, I was locked up. When I came home in 02, Pun passed in 2000. So as far as the Terror Squad era with Link and Pun and them, but I've heard the stories. Now, when I came home, Armageddon was still down with Joe. And I could say there was instances where I'll be in Joe's house and and Getty or in the studio, and Getty will be zoning out and writing the songs. I even blessed him with a couple of songs. Like, that was the type of vibe. So I don't think Link is lying when he said that they would vibe together and, and they were all right and shit and all that and everything. Because I was locked up when they was there. But when I came home, that was the same vibe. It'll be Armageddon, Joe, Cool and Dre. Cool and Dre will help Joe write a lot, and it is what it is. And not to knock him for it, but a lot of rappers use ghostwriters. Joe's not the only one. Mad people use ghostwriters. I don't know why he would feel ashamed or want to hide the fact that, my man, you had ghostwriters. What the fuck?
And so people will say, like, you didn't start rapping until much later on, but you were just a writer then? Like, you were good at writing? Like, what songs did you help write for him?
The Gangster one. The Gangster. My daddy was a gangster. That one. I wrote 2 verses, and Getty and him wrote the other one. Which other ones I want? It was about 2 or 3. I'm not saying I wrote an album, but I was good for at least 2-3 tracks that I gave him. Now, what happened was that I was writing even before I came home. So I already was, I thought I was nice like everybody else. When you're writing, you think you're nice. You know what I mean? So it was what it was. So I was already writing when I came home. But it wasn't until I had to fall out with Joe that I took it serious, that I actually stepped into the booth and started recording songs, you know?
And so
So,
you were writing more like poetry at the time?
no, my nigga, tracks. Y'all gotta listen to the Charlie Rock LD tracks, man. Again, go to my YouTube page, go to my playlist, and see the Charlie Rock LD songs. I also have a playlist of Underboss, of Prison Mentality. I also have a playlist of the podcast, Repping the Real. I got a lot of great stuff on my YouTube page, man. I invite you guys to go over to my YouTube page, subscribe, smash the like button. And you know, I got a lot of interesting stuff over there, man. Peep it. I even got all the interviews I did. I have a playlist on Big Pun and all the interviews he was on. His wife Liza, salute to Liza. His son Chris Rivers. Like, you know, I got all types of great videos on my YouTube page. Peep them.
So although you were locked up at the time that Pun started making his rounds, he would come visit with Joe. Is that how like you guys built a relationship?
Yes, that's exactly how it went down. Yes. Joe would bring Pun, Link, you know, all of them to the visit to see me.
And what was the vibe like at that time between the Terror Squad?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, the first time Pun came to see me, he didn't drop yet, so people really didn't have an idea who Pun was. But they knew who Joe was, you know?
Right.
And it'd be crazy. Like, I actually had 2 fights on 2 different occasions because motherfuckers wanted to keep coming on the visit. Oh, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? You know, they starstruck. So I understand your ass is starstruck, but at the end of the day, he's coming to see his so-called brother. We having a prison visit here. Well, I'm not gonna cut my visit short because your ass want to you act like a groupie and take a fucking picture, you know?
I mean, that had to have been heartbreaking for you to some level. You thinking that this person is your brother all these years, he's holding you down, shouting you out and everything. And then like you realize that he's not really who you thought he was. Do you remember like the year specifically that you finally realized like, yo, he's not who he was, like who I thought he was?
It was hard, man. It was hard. I actually isolated myself for like 2, 3 weeks. When the reality sunk in, it really hurt.
Yeah, man, I can't imagine that because especially, you know, you feel like you built a bond with somebody, right? Especially him coming to visit you and you thinking like, yo, this is a real one. Because, you know, especially when you locked up, you kind of need to have that hope on the outside, right? You need to have like someone to anchor onto. And so I can't imagine with everything that you've been through in life, how that must have felt.
Not a good feeling. You know, anybody that's ever been betrayed, especially when you stood 10 toes down, knows it's not a good feeling.
Do you remember the last time you spoke to him?
He actually talks about that again in his book of Jose. This nigga's crazy. He said the last time he seen me, he was coming out of Hot 97, and I ran up on him, and he felt that I was going to body him. He felt I was going to lay him out. You know, and that's how he felt. Again, this is what he's saying word for word. Y'all can look at the fucking book. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. This is what Joe said in his book. You know, I came out of Hot 97. Charlie ran up on me. He looked at demented. He wasn't looking at me in the face. And he wrote down he thought I was going to do him dirty. He went as far as to say that he was with one guy. And he told the guy, are you holding? And the guy said, yeah. And he said, if Charlie pulls out, you let that thing go because this nigga's a murderer. You know, word for word. That's what he said. So he felt I was going to lay him out. You know what I mean?
Any chance of any reconciliation?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't harbor no bad feelings against the dude. You know what I mean? He knows what he did. He knows my hand didn't call for that. Again, your boy at 18 years old stood in front of a judge and took 20 years when I could have easily taken 5 or 6. You know, you guys was looking at a dude that snatched 20 motherfucking years. Not too many motherfuckers you're gonna run into that's gonna take 20 fucking years for somebody else. I'm not saying it was for Joe, and I'm not saying it wasn't for Joe. I'm just saying it is what it is. And you know, it's crazy, my man. You know what I mean? Like, it was the crazy ill slap in the face.
With you making all the changes in your life, coming to terms and peace with things, why do you think that it's not possible to fix things with Joe?
Nah, because I'm an old school dude, man. And I believe if somebody fucked you over the first, again, he wasn't the regular guy to me. I love this guy. I'm talking to you with one eye. Some shit you just can't forget, man.
Prior to the fallout, did you ever imagine that you wouldn't be there with him in the future by his side?
Nah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see it coming, man. That's why it hurt so much. You know, I cried for like 3 days like a fucking baby. Your boy cried. I balled up like a little bitch when the reality finally sank in and I found out like this nigga really don't love me. You know what I mean? Like, it hit me hard. It hit me hard. You know what I mean? It took me a while to be able to shake that shit off.
What was that conversation like before you finally like stepped off?
The nigga told me, Charlie, what you need to do is get a job in a supermarket or something, and on the weekend hang out with your millionaire brother. Yeah, man. This is what the nigga told me. Word to my dead mother. This is what the nigga told me. He said, Charlie, what you need to do is get a job in a supermarket or something, and on the weekend hang out with your millionaire brother, and I'll throw you a little something here and there. That's when the reality sunk in, and I'm like, wow, like, how could you even have the balls to tell me some shit like that? You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
What did you say back to him when he said that?
I told him, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. How can you say some shit like that to me? You know what I mean? And, you know, he looked at me like I was wrong for even saying that.
At this time, he's worth millions.
What was that?
At this time, he's worth millions.
Of course, he's always been worth money. Joe's been holding money for the longest. You know, Joe's a miser. He don't spend bread like that. You know what I mean? Joe didn't buy a house till he was holding way into the M's. You know how guys who get their first M and the first thing they do is buy a house? No, he was still living in a condo. You know, his biggest fee is going broke. His biggest fee is going back into the projects.
Was he surprised when you said that to him?
He looked at me like I was crazy. You know, like I was just supposed. This is what happened. He was just so used to everybody bowing down for so many years and everybody just agreeing with him that when Charlie didn't go for it, he was looking at me like, what's wrong with this picture? He couldn't understand it. He never got no resistance from nobody. Everybody would suck his dick and lick his balls, you know?
And so did he say anything to you before like you just walked away?
I walked away like there was nothing else to be said after that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you know, it is what it is after that.
So he didn't say anything at that point?
No. I stood away for 2 weeks. He didn't call me to see how I was doing. Nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nothing. It was a real reality. It was a real, what I like to call, you know, a reality check. When reality smacks you in the face and you're like, wait a minute. I always thought the sky was blue and you come to find out it's purple. So, you know, it is what it is.
The thing that's surprising to me, though, is like it wouldn't have cost much to help you set up a business or do something at least that, you know, he don't got to give you a lot of money. But like
the thing is, Panda, I don't like when people be like, oh, Charlie, but you expected Joe to just keep giving you money. I wasn't asking you for money, motherfucker. Open lanes for me to eat. You know, he could have easily got me a job at Loud Record making 100, 200,000 a year, which to them ain't nothing, but for an average guy making 100, 200,000 a year as a salary, you're living okay. He had that power, that position. This is what I was talking about, opening lanes. You know, it's not like I expected that I come every month and you smash me with $20, $30,000. No.
You were trying to prevent that, actually, of having to ask.
First of all, I wouldn't do that because you never count your brother's money. Like, your brother's money is his money.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, I didn't feel because you my brother and you holding millions of dollars that I should be holding millions of dollars, or that I'm going to count on your millions of dollars. No, that's your money, nigga. You know what I mean? That's, you earned it. You know, I'm not that dude. I'm not that dude. I told you I grew up in the DOC. I call myself a DOC baby. So I've always been used to being in the yard, getting my own. And even before I went to prison, I was getting my own. I just finished telling you, when I came home, I opened up FJ Films. I started promoting clubs. I started doing this, doing that. Like, you know, I moved. You know, but it is what it is.
So over the years, Joe has fallen out with so many members of Terror Squad, right? And what do you think it is that has caused that? Because he's the common denominator in that situation.
Ah, Panda, you got some balls on you, motherfucker. I give it to you. You got some balls. You piece of shit. You know, I guess everybody got their own story, you know, everybody got their own journey, you know, but it's like you said, he happens to be the common denominator. So read in between the lines and take it from there.
Why are you saying I got balls? Is that a bad question to ask?
No, because I keep telling you I don't want to talk about this bastard and you keep hitting me with the fucking question. But that's your job. I get it. That's your fucking job.
You know, we promote your podcast a lot throughout the interview. Come on, bro. You know.
That's right. Repping the Real, the podcast. And make sure everybody bang out on it. Subscribe. Hit the like. Repping the Real, the banging his podcast out right now. But yeah, you know, he's had, it's true what you say. He's had, you know, incidents with everybody, you know. But we can't say everybody because, you know, Khaled's doing well. You know, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, you know, just to show that it ain't all bad with the Hassa and, you know, and I'm holding bad feelings. You know, Khaled's not doing bad. Cool and Dre's not doing bad. Remy's not doing bad. So, you know, playing devil's advocate, you know, we can't say everybody, but I agree the majority. Yeah.
What about Armageddon? Is he still down with him?
Getty, I really haven't heard nothing about Getty. I think what Joe had told me about Getty, that Getty was scared to step into the limelight. That was what Joe said, as far as like why Getty never dropped the album and why his album was never, he would always come up with excuses not to have the album done or whatever. I mean, they were all signed to labels.
That's crazy.
And I asked Joe the same question, why this nigga never pop off as far as with the album? And his response was that he believes that Getty was scared of success. You know, success ain't for everybody, Panda.
It's true, man.
You know, it ain't everybody. Some people scared of success. You know, again, we're all human beings. We all think different, you know, and everybody's not built the same.
It's not just that, though, not just success, but the type of success. We're talking about fame here.
And failure. I think what Joe meant to say was that he was scared of not success, failure. Let me reword that. I think he was scared of stepping into that arena and not making it. I think that would be a phobia, right? That would be a type of phobia, right?
Right.
Like being scared of heights and all that other shit, being scared of success, you know, it is what it is.
So that means that Joe took care of him, right? Because I don't want to just paint Joe bad, but, you know, I mean, that means that he must have taken care of Armageddon then, right?
I mean, I do know that on a couple of albums, Armageddon wrote the majority of the songs. And, you know, Joe wouldn't discuss a lot of his business with me, only some of it. but I'm pretty sure he got paid for them songs, because he kept doing it. There was a time where he said, I'm not writing no more. I remember had that conversation with Joe. Joe was like, yo, Charlie, this nigga told me he's not writing for me no more. And I was like, wow, well, I guess you're going to have to do your own, nigga. You've been doing your own. Like, that's when I noticed how much he really depended on other people as far as ghostwriters.
I mean, but Joe is talented in his own right, right? So, like, why would he depend on other people to write for him?
I mean, I guess only he can answer that question, man. I could speculate, but I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, it is what it is. I guess when you've been so many years, people writing for you, you get used to that shit. The same way, if you're a gangster and you've been protecting this person for the longest, that person becomes a crutch on you, always expecting you to be there and hold him down. So, he probably had his own reasons for whatever.
And so with the recent events with Nori coming out and saying that he won't interview Link because of his loyalty to Joe, what did you think about that situation?
The homie Link. I mean, it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? Me personally, with all due respect to Link, I understand he feels he's been blackballed, everything and all that. He has a right to feel what he feels. But in my eyes, even though I don't with Joe, but looking at it from a G point of view, what is Nori supposed to do? You know what I mean? Joe is his man. They've been banging together for the longest. So the way I look at it, he's being loyal to his man. What did he say? He said, with all due respect to the little homie, I don't have nothing against him, whatever and all that. But because of my relationship with Joe, I can't rock with him like that. It is what it is.
And so this is what I've been saying as well. I feel like from a street code perspective, he did the right thing, right? Because he's standing by his man. He's holding them down.
I mean, from a street code and from a business code, you know what I mean? Look at them if there was two executives, and they're both on the executive board. You're going to go against your boss or the dude that's on the executive board with you for the dude that is not on the executive board? You know what I mean? I mean, think about it.
Right. But from a journalist perspective, and he is considered a journalist in a lot of people's eyes, and he's called himself a journalist as well, then it's like you have to get both sides of the story.
Panda, we both know that what we're supposed to do and what we actually do is always two different things, my man. You know what I mean? What we're supposed to do and what we actually do is always two different stories, man. It is what it is. Like I said, my personal opinion from the outside looking in, he's being loyal to the Hassa. You know what I mean? And even though I don't rock with Joe and don't give a fuck about him, I could understand where Nori's coming from. Because I'm an old school dude. And I believe I'm the type of dude that if you my man, your beef is my beef. Not everybody sees it like that, but I see it like that. I'm a jail nigga. I'm a DOC baby. And if you my homie, if you my man, and we rocking together, your beef is my beef. And I'm not going to rock with a nigga that you got beef with. You know what I mean? Like, that's the code.
I just think that
I don't understand why people is getting it twisted and taking it personal. You can't take that personal. It is what it is.
I just think that he should have never spoke about Link on Drink Champs from like all the different times, because he had Joe up there and he interviewed him and he asked for Joe's side about, what happened with Link. And so again, from that journalist side, people are looking at it like, then you need to get the whole story. You need to get Link's side of it, but this is like more and more we're seeing street dudes in journalism, right? And there's no guidebook saying this is what you're supposed to do. Which rules overrule the other one? And so that's why there's that debate there.
I mean, it's a debate, and I think it's like anything else in life, man. It depends, the lenses that you have on and you look at life with. You know what I mean? A street dude is gonna look at it one way. A corporate guy is gonna look at it another way. A rapper is gonna look at it another way. I mean, I can almost understand how Link feels. You know, he feels how he feels. You know, and he's voicing his opinion, and we've heard it again and again and again. You know, that's his lane. That's the lane he chooses to go. You know, but I guess it boils down to the way you see it. That's what makes us as human beings so fascinating, because everybody has their own outlook in life. The same way Charlie looks at something is not going to be the same way Panda's going to look at things. We're all individuals, and we all look at things differently, man.
Facts.
You
I think that the reason why Link took it so hard is because it's kind of confirmation to, or adding credibility to the whole being blackballed thing, because he's not allowed on, major platforms to tell his side of the thing.
I understand. I understand why he would feel like that. But on the same token, we have to eventually draw that line in the sand, my man, and move on with life. 23 years. It's been 23, 24 years. That's a body in jail, my man. 23 years. At some point in life, we have to cut our losses and we have to move on, and just start something new. My advice to the little homie: you a rapper. Rap. Bang them with a hit song. Bang them with a platinum album. They say the best revenge is success, my man. Let me say that again. When you have an enemy, the best thing you could do to get that enemy back is not kill him. Because once you kill him, it's over. He's not going to feel it. The best revenge is success. When somebody could look at you and be like, yo, I done did everything through all type of obstacles in this nigga's way, and his ass still banged out, and he made it. You a rapper, homie, rap. Bang him with a hit album. No disrespect. I'm just giving my opinion. Rap, nigga. Come out with a hit song. Do what you do. I like his music.
But he would argue, though, that it's hard when you're blackballed to a certain extent, right? So,
but what are we going to do, my man? What are we going to do? It is what it is. At what point do you say, okay, I'm going to cut my losses and try the next angle? They say that let's talk about insanity. What is insanity? The official terminology for insanity is this: doing the same thing over and over, and you're expecting different results. That's the term for insanity. So all I'm saying, if you've been going down this lane, and you've been going down this lane, and you haven't gotten, and it hasn't gotten you to where you want to get, homie, switch it up. Bang on the other lane. ¿Qué pasa?
Do you have a close relationship with Link?
I mean, we all right. We're not the best of friends, but, we all right. He said some shit last month that I didn't appreciate, but, it is what it is. We're not going to get into that, He said what he said, and that was that. We're not the best of friends, but, it is what it is. I got no quarrel with him at all. I wish him well.
So we're not going to touch on what you said there with what you had a problem with, but have you had a conversation with him about, switching it up, letting it go? Have you talked to him about that?
No, I haven't, to be honest. No.
Do you think that it would be helpful to hear it from you, because you have a similar experience in some way, like a problem with Joe, but you've let it go? I mean, you still have to tell certain stories. Obviously, I understand, because.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I harbor no ill will towards Joe. Charlie Rock is doing Charlie Rock. You see how I came up with my own coaching company. I got my little podcast. I'm not saying it's the biggest thing on the planet, but I found a different lane. I found my little niche, and I'm running with it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, my man. There's no way A smart man does not allow his past to dictate his future. You're crazy. People that do that, they're stressed out, they have PTSD, they have all type of emotional problems. You never allow your past to dictate your future. Your past is your past. Even if it was a rough, look at your boy, 20 years in prison. I don't be crying, oh, I did 20 years, my life is over. No, fuck that, nigga. We banging out. It ain't over till the casket drop, my man. It is not over. When the casket drop, that's when it's over. You know what I mean? As long as you got breath in your lungs, it is not over. You know, and I'm not the type to cry about spilled milk. You know what I mean? I did 20 years. My mother died while I was in prison. My girlfriend was 2 months pregnant when I got arrested. I came home, had a 14-year-old daughter. Your boy Charlie Rock been through it. But it is what it is. We all have a story. Everybody has a story. You know, everybody goes through whatever they go through. I believe that whatever you go through in the past, no matter how horrific it is, look at the young girls that's been raped or molested or whatever. You know, everybody has a past, my man. You learn from your past and you move on. You don't dwell on it. That's when you become cuckoo. And you turn 60 years old and you realize for the last 40 years, you've been beating the same dead horse. No way. Charlie ain't going out like that. Fuck you. Charlie ain't going out like that. I enjoy my life every day. Like I said, I don't drink liquor. I don't drink beer, liquor. I don't smoke weed, but I stay lit every day. Figure it out. I'm on some natural high spiritual shit. You know, I enjoy my freedom every day. You know, the fact that I can wake up at 2 in the morning, go to the refrigerator, get some fucking milks and donuts, I'm happy. In life, my people, we have to be content and happy with what we have and not worry about what we don't have. They say the man that is content and happy with what he has and not worry about what he doesn't have is rich and he is wealthy. There's different forms of being rich and wealthy. The average person, when you say you're rich, they think you have millions in the bank. There's many ways of being rich. You know what I mean? Again, the podcast, Charlie Rock LD, repping the real. Rock with your boy.
Did Joe ever talk to you about the Cuban Link beef?
Yeah.
And what was his perspective on that?
His perspective was, looking at it from a business point, the way Joe explained it to me was that, all right, Cuban Link was under his label, the Terror Squad label, and that was an imprint label. Okay. So according to Joe, the label had already spent $1 or $2 million on Cuban's album for the 24K. And the executives, once he turned in the final project, the executives was not happy with it. They felt from a business point that they was not going to be able to recoup their money. So it was going to cost them more money to put the album out, knowing that they're not going to recoup that money. So labels do this all the time. They shelf niggas. You know, you got to look at it from a business point. A lot of people look at rap and they think it's entertainment. No, it's 90% business and 10% talent. You know, so the powers that be thought that they wasn't going to recoup the money that they already invested. So they did what they normally do. They cut their losses and they shelved the album. That's why, to my understanding, his album never came out.
Yeah, it got bootlegged a lot and everything.
It got bootlegged, but officially it just never dropped on the label. Again, this is my understanding. I don't know if it's true or not. You asked me a question, you know, and I told you what Joe told me, you know?
So outside of the business, did he ever talk to you about anything else involving Cuban Link, like as far as like their street incident or anything like that?
I mean, nothing that, you know, Link hasn't mentioned already. You know, they had a fallout. They had the incident at Jimmy's. You know, what happened. And, you know, that was basically it. Like, He didn't tell me nothing out of the ordinary that, Cuban Link hasn't, spoken about. I can tell you a BMF story though.
Yeah, yeah.
We was in you want to hear a BMF story with Dipset?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we was in Miami. This was, of course, when I was with Joe. This was when BMF first started to step into the rap game and wanted to open up a label. Not too many people knew how dangerous and how serious these guys were. So we was in South Beach. Dipset was there. Terror Squad was there. And the BMF dudes ran down on Dipset. They caught him in the hotel lobby, ran up on them. They was like 50, 60 deep. They beat the shit out of them, yapped their jewels and all types of crazy shit. And they all ran. Jim Jones, Jewel, all of them ran. So they run to Joe, because Joe was in the next hotel. So Joe, who do you think he sends to go hold him down?
You.
Your boy, Charlie Brock. So Joe gives me the order, yo, go with these niggas, hold them down, and, do what you got to do. So I'm like, all right. Now, Joe tells me there's like 50, 60 of them. Joe sometimes be exaggerating, you know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm like, Joe said 50, 60, there's probably 15. Yeah. So I go with the Dipset dudes, and none of them wanted to come. The only one that had the heart to come was some nigga named Black Dawn. Salute to Black Dawn. He's the only one that had the heart. So we're walking up the block. I had like 15, maybe 18 guys with me. We're walking on the strip, and we run into the BMF niggas. And Joe wasn't capping. Them niggas was deep. They was mad deep. So I see them. I'm like, oh, shit, we outnumbered like 3-1. So I'm like, oh, shit. So, I got the burner, but I'm not trying to catch a body over these niggas. You know what I mean? Get out of here. So they see us. I got the TS chain. They see I'm down with Terror Squad. The dude had the Diplomat chain. So they was like, oh, shit, Chip and Dips. Look at Chip and Dips. That's what they was calling us. So they started to surround us in the middle of the street because they was that deep. So I'm a strategist. I'm like, if I let these niggas surround us, we asked out. They're going to attack us from all angle, and we asked out, so no way. So I pulled out the burner, gave it to the Dipset nigga, and tell him, yo, being that this is your beef, you're going to have the honor of, repping your set, nigga. You know what I mean? So at first he was hesitating, and I had to put the battery in his back, and he basically let off a few shots in the air. They shot back. Nobody got shot. Nobody got hit. You know what I mean? And everybody ran in their own direction. But, that's a little BMF story for you.
Was Big Meech there?
If he was, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that was his crew. I don't want to say he was because at the time, I didn't even know who the Big Meech was. Again, this was when they first started to jump into the rap scene. And, as everybody knows, them dudes had crazy millions of dollars. So they can afford to put 60 guys in a hotel and pay for all the hotel. And, and half of them is bangers. So, they was dangerous. But, what?
Why didn't Joe come with you guys?
Come on, man. You wildin' right now, Panda. How is Joe gonna come? Come on.
But why would he send you to handle the business that you got nothing to do with, though?
Because I'm the top general in the squad. So who you gonna send? Who did John Gotti send to put the work in?
So
John Gotti didn't put the work in. John Gotti never caught a body, or at least that we know of. It was his underboss.
So Jim Jones was there and he refused to come?
He didn't come. They beat the shit out of them niggas.
Cameron was there?
No, Cam wasn't there. It was Jim, Jewels, and a bunch of other niggas.
Damn.
A lot of them rappers is mad lame, man. Don't let them rappers bluff you, my people. I've been around a lot of rappers. There's even rumors that your boy Charlie Brock robbed a few of them. Allegedly. You know what I mean? Them niggas is mad soft, man. Them niggas is mad soft. They not built like that. All them hard rhymes y'all be hearing and, and this and that. 98% of them is not built like that. Don't let them fool you. So, you know, these dudes be walking around with two, three, $400,000 worth of jewelry, you know, and you're a real wolf and you're broke and, you know, you're gonna get them. So, you know, allegedly, that's what, you know, they say your boy Charlie was doing.
All right, man. Well, Charlie, I appreciate your time, bro. You know, you didn't have to do this. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to rap with me. Is there anything else that you want to say before we end the interview?
That's right. Repping the Real, the podcast. Bang out on Repping the Real. We got the crazy stories. Your boy is the truth. The truth. I got the crazy episodes. I want y'all to peep them. Also, remember, I'm a life coach. If you or anybody needs, you know, some life coaching on somebody that came home, I don't only coach, you know, guys that been in prison. I also rock with the mothers, the daughters. You know, sometimes I was coaching a wife last month, and she wanted to understand why her man is acting the way he's acting. You know, he did 10 years. He came home. She thought it was going to be a certain way. And you have to understand their mindset. So when you understand the mindset of somebody that's been in prison for X amount of years, you're better able to deal with them and you're better able to help them change that mindset. Always remember, if you want to change your life, the first thing you have to change is your mindset, the way you see things, the way you look at the world, what you put as your priority first, and all that. And it takes time. It's a process. So, you know, again, I mentor kids also. You know, rock with your boy, Charlie Rock LD, Prison Mentality, gmail.com. It is what it is. Panda, it was nice hanging out with you. We've been here an hour and a half, nigga. It's a wrap. You done got enough out of me. I should be charging your ass. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, Panda. We got to do this again sometime. You heard, Panda?